G'day from the Bahrain International Circuit on a day that Red Bull dominated all of the media coverage. You have to take your hat off to Max Verstappen. He started the season in fine form with a Grand Slam in the first race of the year. That's never happened before, and a Grand Slam is starting from pole position, leading every lap and winning. And while that was a big story, it wasn't the biggest story. The biggest story, according to all the people in this media centre, and there are many of them, was Geri Horner arriving at the track with her husband. Christian walked in with her hand in hand, but Christian was already at the track, and then he was walking in through the swipe gates with her. What happened? I can tell you, a German reporter friend of mine saw Christian sneak out a back entrance to the paddock, which is not normally covered with swipe gates, got into the car with Geri, went round the corner, maybe 300 metres, and walked in through the swipe gates. Now, no doubt that was a very powerful statement for the pair to say things are as normal, and perhaps the general public shouldn't worry. You'll make your decision on it. Probably about an hour after arriving at the hospitality suite, they dined, and they dined at the very back of the hospitality suite, but out on the deck. There were a number of media out the front photographing. I was one of them. It was a bit tough to get a clean photo of the pair, but certainly when Christian left to take to the grid, he stopped and gave his wife a kiss on the way out. Once again, a show of affection to say that things are, well, as normal as can be under some very trying conditions. And I think everybody in this media centre wants it sorted out quickly, and I have no doubt Red Bull does, because this has dragged on for way too long. Certainly the PR people were all over this today at Red Bull. They were having meeting after meeting with journalists. We also had the Thai businessman, who is 51% owner of Red Bull, at the track with his wife today. In Parc Fermé, they were right up front, standing next to Geri and Christian Horner. Of course, Christian and Geri were pretty happy with the result. It was a runaway win for their boys. 1-2 finish. Celebrity-wise, who do we have? Jeremy Clarkson was on the grid. He was talking to Martin Brundle. If you are British or you get the Sky Sports coverage, you would have known that. They spoke for some time. I also saw Neymar. He was with Red Bull. And interestingly, there was a photo in front of the Red Bull garage where Neymar took centre stage, and at the very last minute someone rushed him in a can of Red Bull so that the brand got their value out of that photo shoot. He was surrounded by many people in the paddock and had a couple of security guards helping him get around, because it's not easy. Now let's hark back to Parc Fermé last night. George Russell was in there, and when he took his helmet off and his balaclava, he had this headband on. I caught up with his girlfriend Carmen today and said, what's that about? And she said, well, back in Qatar last year, it was so darn hot that he was getting sweat beads in his eyes, so he arranged for one of these. He originally tried something else. I think she said a bun, but that wasn't fireproof, and that is important. This is fireproof, and it's made by Puma. It stops the sweat getting in George's eyes. Alpine reserve driver and fellow Australian Jack Doohan was in the paddock today, running backwards to something you don't often see. Yesterday afternoon in the paddock, I came across Miles Chamley-Watson, who is known as The Fencer on Instagram, and he is not a fence erector, he is a fencer as in, stabbing people on a stage connected to a cable in a white suit. And I was talking to him, and he's, by the way, a very snappy dresser, a good friend of Lewis Hamilton's, comes as Lewis's guest. And I said to him, I have this amazing photo that inspires me, it's a multi-exposure. And he asked about it, and I said, well, it's two fences coming together. And I found the picture, and he said, that's me in that photo. I said, yeah, on the right. Yeah, definitely me. And trust me, that is one of my favourite photos. I also remarked to him about his fashion, because he always looks $1 million. And he said, you know what, we should style you. And I said, yes, let's do that. It'd be great for a video. Miles Chamley-Watson styles me. Someone who has always at F1 dressed for comfort. Will it happen? I hope so. Did you know that today was the coldest ever Bahrain Grand Prix? Yes, I don't know what the temperature got down to, but everyone here agrees that it was unseasonably cold. And if I go back to 2017, my first race here on the Thursday, it was 44 degrees and it was unbearable. In fact, you couldn't even pick up your cameras. It was that hot. And for that very reason, around the track are these scattered boxes. Nothing to look at, but it's fitted with an air conditioner, and you go in there on hot days to get some respite. Now, let's talk Podium. Do they use champagne? No. This is a country that doesn't allow promotion of alcohol, although you can buy it here, and it certainly is available in the hospitality suites. And not just beer and wine. It's a full range of spirits in most of them. Anyway, getting back to the Podium, it's not champagne, it is rose water. It has no branding on it. And what they've done from last year's version of the fizzy, sweet, sticky substance is fizzed it up, because last year it didn't froth. It was, well, probably a fizzer, and it needed to be more fizzy. And if you're wondering how that rose water sprayed, well, it wasn't much better than last time, I'd suggest, and certainly nothing like champagne or sparkling wine. Let's talk start of year photo, and this was the shot. Spacing of the drivers was, I thought, not quite right. But anyway, that's what we have to work with. Lewis Hamilton went round to all the drivers prior to the shoot and fist bumped them all. Now, what does it cost to come to this race? Well, it depends obviously on where you come from and where your seats are, but Alexandra Bruckner told me this is what she paid.
We're from Boston in the United States. We spent about $2,000 on flights to get here, about $1,000 on accommodation. We are in the Bayonne grandstand, spent about $700 on tickets, so all told about $3,000 to get here, and it has been completely worth it.
Now, if you've watched my video about crazy things I did in Bahrain, you might have seen me out there four-wheel driving on that track near turn 13. Well, I can tell you that Ibrahim, my driver, had a rather interesting story about a very influential F1 guest that he had in his car.
In 2007, if I'm not mistaken, I took some of the Formula One drivers up here on the off-road, and one of them is Michael Schumacher. He's the only one who stops me right in the middle of the course. He's like, "Can I drive?" I'm like, "Of course, I'll be honored." Yeah, and he enjoyed the drive. I just asked him actually a question, and he's like, "This is just to take some stress off."
Oh, and if you missed Ted's notebook, have a look at this bit.
We're all waiting here for the photo, but I don't think it's going to be done anytime soon. Mark, Kim, do we know when the photo is going to be?
Well, we live in hope that it's going to be soon.
We live in hope. It could be here, it could be in the hospitality, but help yourself to a Red Bull. No thanks.
And one of my final picks of the night was this glorious shot of Kevin Magnussen with one of his daughters. Having said all of those words, I'm now going to pack up my stuff and leave. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And for all of my digital stuff, have a look here. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Okay. What are we doing here?
Oh.
You've got to put the pictures backwards so it looks like he's running backwards.